So there's this new trend on TikTok of people basically hating on America and talking about how much better Europe is and how they want to move to Europe. Let's roll this clip.
I think the new American dream is to leave, to pack up and head to a quiet European town or a beachside village in Asia, somewhere where we aren't being poisoned by our food, we don't need 2 to 3 jobs to survive, and where healthcare isn't a luxury, but the norm. Someplace where people stop and appreciate the little things and enjoy the slow life. A safe place where the community comes together and supports one another. We've been misled to believe that life is about enduring our circumstances and place of birth, but it is not a requirement in life that you have to stay in the same place you were born and spend your life struggling.
So my first thought is, then go, then get out. Literally, you can leave. No one's making you stay. And there's so many millions of people across the world who would love to come take your spot and come be in America. But also, I'm sorry, there's just fact problems with this. As a matter of statistical fact, barely any Americans work 2 to 3 jobs. That is an extremely rare phenomenon. All of this stuff, just the whole narrative that this person, and it's not just this person, this is a whole genre of TikTok commentary. They're painting the most idyllic possible vision of Italy, of Asian beachside villages. There's so many societal problems and things about those societies that they're just completely ignoring and acting like there's some utopia. I mean, the US isn't perfect, but there's a reason people all around the world want to come here. And this is just, this almost feels like paid for by, and then the government of the country they're advocating for should be probably disclosed, because it's just, this is propaganda, right? It's not like an honest look at the pluses and minuses of living in 2 different countries, because obviously, there are ways in which other countries are doing better than the US in some areas. It's not like the US #1 always perfect, but this US is trash, flee to these perfect utopias overseas narrative that you see promoted on TikTok is just detached from reality.
And guys, Brad is not wrong. This is a whole algorithm push on TikTok. I see this constantly every day. They are constantly showing me these kinds of videos, and they are typically very edited, right? It's a girl in a sundress who's got her makeup perfectly on. It's seaside pictures and villas. And the reality is, even what they're showing you is not how most people live in Europe. I've traveled pretty extensively across Europe. It has some things going for it. It is more walkable. It is more dog friendly. There's things I like. But as a whole, there's a lot of poverty in many of these countries. When I was in Italy, I felt like I was in a third world country. Their airports felt third world to me. I got hassled. Basically, the Uber driver who was, a car service, made us pay him $200 extra. He wouldn't let us out of the car. There's a lot of corruption going on in these countries. They're not all these seaside tourist villas. That's not how the average person lives there, period. So I feel like TikTok and China push this idea because they have an agenda to
on Italy specifically. I mean, they literally have a far right leader they just elected who's writing gay parents off the birth certificates of their children. So this idyllic TikToker is just leaving out a few things about this perfect nation.
And just completely ill-informed. But again, I think this is part of a larger agenda to try to make Americans be less happy with the country, to create class warfare, to insist that there is this better way of doing it in these more socialized countries. And I am fed up with it because I know better than that. And it's not hard to know better than that because we have the internet at our fingertips. So I'm going to data dump for people just so that you have the facts you need to encounter this kind of BS, because I'm over it. So first and foremost, she opens the video by saying that increasingly Americans just want to leave, right? That's the American dream, is to leave. And that is such utter hogwash. To be clear, the U.S. is home to more immigrants than any other country. Nobody wants to go to a single country more than people want to come to the U.S. In fact, more than 45 million people here are immigrants, according to the latest census estimates. More than 1 million try to come to the U.S. each year on top of that. 72,177 were deported in 2022 alone. So people are desperate to come to this country from nations all over the world. And in comparison, until a decade ago, fewer than 1,000 Americans per year chose to renounce their citizenship. As of May 15, 2023, this is sort of an outlier year, there's been a total of 5,315 people who've renounced their citizenship, but it's still pales in comparison the number of people who are trying to come here versus leave. So get out of here with that narrative. Her other point that just irks me beyond belief is that Americans are all working 2 to 3 jobs and can't pay their bills, and they make so little money. Everybody's just so much richer overseas and also works less time and has more leisure time. And that is not the case. In fact, the number of people who hold multiple jobs in this country reached 8,137,000 in March of 2023, which is a record-breaking number. And that equates to 5.1% of the total employed population working more than one job. So no, Americans are not
tiny slice of the workforce.
Tiny slice. On top of that, though, Americans actually are paid a lot more money versus Europeans, and they pay less in taxes. The U.S. is roughly 40 to 50% richer than the EU on a per person basis, and that's partly due to fewer hours worked and partly due to lower productivity. In per capita GDP terms, the state of Arkansas, which is the second poorest U.S. state, is actually about as rich as the UK or Georgia. The median U.S. state is richer than Denmark. So even our red, rural, kind of look down on states are financially doing better than many of these countries. Now, one thing that is true is that the cost of living is lower in most European countries, but that's because Europeans have so much less disposable income. They cannot afford the same quality of life as Americans. Financially, the American middle class is ahead of the middle class in Western Europe nations in terms of disposable after-tax household income, with the exception of Luxembourg. They found in this study that even the poorest U.S. states beat the poorest European countries when it comes to median household income. Again, only Luxembourg topped the richest state in the U.S. Salaries in the U.S. are about twice as high as they are in Europe. And in European countries, lower income and middle class taxpayers pay an average marginal wage tax rate of 49% on income over $37,000 a year.
Jeez.
Let me say it again. They pay an income tax of 49% on income over $37,000 a year.
And I thought we had it bad.
Oh, and I'm not done. On top of that, they also pay an average value-added tax or VAT tax of 20%. Compared to the U.S., those same U.S. taxpayers, around $37,000 a year, would pay an income tax of about 32% and sales tax average of about 6%. So Europeans make less money, they pay far higher taxes, and they have much lower GDP and productivity, so they live off the initiative of other people in other countries, basically. And what do they get for all of it? A bunch of free services like free healthcare. But it turns out, when you dig into that, also crap. There are amazing reports, actually. I mean, everybody's having to admit this. It's just the U.S. media that's really not circling on this. The Guardian, The Intercept, all of these outlets are covering this quite in depth if you want to go and read more about this. But the World Health Organization's Europe region said last year in a report that all countries in their region are facing severe problems related to their healthcare and care workforce. In France, there are fewer doctors now than in 2012. More than 6 million people, including 600,000 with chronic illnesses, do not have a regular doctor, general practitioner. And 30% of the population does not have adequate access to health services. In Germany, 35,000 care sector posts were vacant last year, 40% more than a decade ago, while a report this summer said that by 2035, more than a third of all health jobs would be unfilled. Facing unprecedented hospital overcrowding due to severe shortages of nurses, even Finland will need 200,000 new workers in the health and social care sector by 2030. In Spain, the health ministry announced in May that more than 700,000 people were waiting for surgery, and 5,000 frontline general practitioners and pediatricians in Madrid have been on strike for nearly a month in protest at years of underfunding and overwork. In a third of countries in this region, at least 40% of doctors were over age 55, and even when younger practitioners stayed despite the stress, long hours, and often low pay with government health care, their reluctance to work in remote rural areas or deprived inner cities had created medical deserts that were proving almost impossible to fill. And lastly, we'll jump over to England, where the NHS, their government healthcare system, is in free fall. A medic there said, as we know, waiting lists have never been higher. Cancer targets are being missed. Emergency departments are overwhelmed. People are literally dying in the floors. They are worse than the U.S. on wait times by far. In fact, the U.S. is not even in the top 5 as far as long wait times, which is leading many of these people in the countries between 10% to 60%, depending on which European country you're looking at, to carry additional health insurance, private health insurance, in order to try to actually see a doctor. And then you also have a tremendous amount of these people who are actually doing what's known as health tourism, where they come to the United States for basic services. In fact, 16% of our health tourism industry is coming from Europe. So suck it. This narrative is BS. It is not going better overseas. I can't stand this hogwash. It's so unfactual and it's so easy to disprove. So there you go. You got my data dump. I'm so done with these people.
Yeah, but again, if all of that's true, go. Please go. If you don't want to be an American, literally, please renounce your citizenship, move to this other country, and more power to you. I'm rooting for you, but let's replace you with an immigrant who loves America. That's what I'm calling for. Let's do that. We need to create a green card for citizenship mill so that we will, as I think our government should buy them a one-way ticket to the country of their choice if they will renounce their citizenship and give that spot to a hardworking immigrant with, useful skills we need, like an engineer or a doctor or a nurse or something. We would improve our society overall by letting these people go and bring in hardworking, industrious immigrants who love America and want to be a part of it. So that's what I think we should do in response to this TikTok trend.
Absolutely agreed. In the words of Sound of Music, so long, farewell, Avitas, and goodbye. Get out. We don't need you. I want the workers and the doers and the true dreamers who want to create something here. Let's swap them out.
Do you know I've never watched The Sound of Music?
Oh, yeah. That stabbed me in the heart.
Yeah, I've never have. And
you gotta watch it tonight. Immediately.
It seems really boring.
No, you would love it.
Would I?
Yes, I think you love High School Musical.
Is it really similar to High School Musical?
No, but it's great and it's a musical.
I generally don't like musicals, though. That's the thing.
Oh, all right. Well, it's one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it on repeat as a child. I think you might like it. It's got a lot of World War II history in it. It's a true story. You can even go visit this hotel in Vermont that the Von Trapp kids or their descendants own and operate to this day. It's a story of overthrowing, Hitler. It's great.